The 15th Discourse. O young man! Grasp in your hand the sword of the affirmation of divine unity and the shield of pious restraint. Mount the steed of your honesty and your purpose, and launch the attack of your sincerity against the lower self, the passions, the urges of nature, the idolatrous worship of creatures, this world, and the devil, for help and support will then come to you from Allah, exalted is He. The people kept their own lower selves imprisoned. They made do with very little, until they reached the stage of having very much. They could see the robes of honor that had been made ready for them, hanging on the pegs of destiny, so they patiently made the best they could out of rags and tatters, until such time as they would receive the shares of this world and the hereafter that had been prepared for them. When the heart abstains from everything apart from the Lord of Truth, Almighty and glorious is He, it moves out into the deserts of direct experience and the wilderness of knowledge. It comes to rest in the campsite of safety from all that is apart from Him, so it enjoys immunity from sinful rebellion, from obedience to the devil and opposition to the All-Merciful. O you who are in such a great hurry, you must hold your ground. O you who are so eager for things to arrive before their time is due, you must not be so stupid. Surely you must have heard the saying of the Prophet, Allah bless him and give him peace, haste is from the devil, while an unhurried pace is from the All-Merciful. This is so because of His knowledge of our best interests. When someone loves Allah, Almighty and glorious is He, that person no longer has a will of his own, because the lover can have no will of his own in the company of his beloved, since he is just like the slave in the presence of his master. The slave is in bondage to his master. He cannot contradict his master. He cannot oppose his master in anything at all. Woe unto you! You are neither a lover nor a loved one. You have experienced neither the taste of loving nor the taste of being loved. The lover is restless and wary, while the loved one is calm. The lover is in a state of distress, while the loved one is in a state of composure. You lay claim to love, yet you go to sleep and forget about your beloved. As Allah, Almighty and glorious is He, has said in one of His revealed utterances, a liar is he who claims to love me, yet who goes to sleep and forgets me as soon as the night sets in. There are those among them who never go to sleep, except when sleep overtakes them suddenly with irresistible force, so that they doze off while they are bowing in prostration. The Prophet, Allah bless him and give him peace, is reported as having said, when the servant falls asleep during his prostration, Allah, Almighty and glorious is He, commends him to His angels, saying, see how his spirit is here with me, while his body is there before me, engaged in obedient service to me. If a worshipper is suddenly overwhelmed by sleep while performing his ritual prayer, he is still considered to be engaged in his prayer, because he was committed by intention to performing the prayer, when the sudden drowsiness came upon him and overwhelmed him irresistibly. The Lord of Truth, Almighty and glorious is He, does not pay attention to the outer form, He looks only at the intention and the inner content. When the knower abstains from the hereafter, he says to it, get out of my way, for I am seeking the door of the Lord of Truth, Almighty and glorious is He. Both you and this world are one as far as I am concerned. This world used to screen me off from you, and now you are screening me off from my Lord, Almighty and glorious is He. No respect is due to anyone who tries to screen me off from Him. You must hear what is being said to you now, for it is the essence of the knowledge of Allah, Almighty and glorious is He, the essence of what He wishes from His creatures and for His creatures, namely the spiritual state of the prophets, the messengers, the saints and the righteous. O slaves of this world, O slaves of the hereafter, you are ignorant of Allah, Almighty and glorious is He, of this lower world of His and of His other world. You are solid walls. Each of you has an idol. You there, your idol is this world. And you, your idol is the hereafter. As for you, creatures are your idol. Then in your case, the desires and pleasures of the flesh are your idol, while in yours the idol is praise and applause and popular acceptance. Everything apart from Allah, Almighty and glorious is He, is an idol. The people wish only for His countenance. Woe unto you! The resurrection is very close to you. The space is no more than the gap between high tide and low tide. It is no more than the space between taking a nap and waking up. It is no more than the space between stepping back and stepping forward. Surely the dawn is close at hand. The day of resurrection is the day of triumph for those who are truly devout, the day of rejoicing for those who are truly devout. The truly devout are those who are devoted to their duty to Allah. Almighty and glorious is He, both in their private moments and in their public lives, in times of ease and prosperity and in times of suffering and hardship, when things are to their liking, and also in situations that are very unpleasant for them. They are the servants of Allah. Almighty and glorious is He, and His men of valor. They are the men of valor and the heroes. They are the chieftains and the leaders. They possess not only the foundation of faith, but its superstructure as well. They are always on their guard against associating partners with Allah and against hypocrisy, both outwardly and inwardly. They practice detachment from this world and their fellow creatures, and they refuse to gratify the inclinations of their lower selves. You will not attain to the degree of nearness to Allah. Almighty and glorious is He, until you are ready to let go of all that is apart from Him. You will not reach that level as long as you are so tight-fisted with your worldly goods. If you donate some of them to charitable causes, the desire to cling to things in your possession will be dissipated. Whenever one of our righteous predecessors found that he had some food at his disposal, he would say to his servant, "Take this food to the home of that poor man," mentioning the person by name. Woe unto you! Have you no sense of shame? When the time comes for you to pay the alms due, you produce the gold of the most inferior quality that you have in your possession. You produce low-grade silver instead of the genuine kind, and silver instead of jewels. If you have something that is actually worth a whole dinar, you maintain that its value is only half that much, in order to minimize your obligation to the poor. If you happen to have some food at your disposal, you donate the most unappetizing part of it to charity, while you eat the tastiest part of it yourself. You are the worshipful servant of your own lower self. You are quite incapable of resisting its demands. You are the obedient follower of your passionate desires, your devil and your evil companions. The truly devout are the cream of the crop. They are 1 in 1,000. You must not overstep the bounds of proper behavior. Allah will not receive any of you into His presence, apart from someone who is pure. No one may sit at His table unless he is clean. No meat may be served at His table, unless it has been slaughtered by the hand of a person devoted to righteousness. He will not accept the carrion flesh of a person who is only interested in creatures and things of this world. Meat that has not been properly slaughtered, the flesh of the donkey, and the idolatrous worship of creatures and material means, all constitute contaminated food. Our Lord, Almighty and glorious is He, will accept only that which is offered with the intention of earning His good pleasure. Do not talk about things that do not concern you. Keep yourselves fully occupied with what He has commanded you to do. Almighty and glorious is He. Do not waste what little time you have. Fulfill your duty to your Lord. Almighty and glorious is He, and turn to Him in repentance. If a person is truly devoted to his Lord, He will protect him and promote him to the door of His nearness. He will promote him to the way of life that is everlasting. He will promote him from low to high. He will promote him to the 7th heaven. The time is now very near when you must experience the resurrection. You will see how Allah, Almighty and glorious is He, will gather His truly devoted servants in the shade of His throne, and how He will seat them at tables where martyrs are seated, as well as certain people who were drowned at sea. As they sit at those tables, they will take great delight in the company of their fellow creatures and in every aspect of their situation. One set of people will be transported to the gardens of paradise, while another set will be carried away to the fire of hell. As they sit there at those tables, the dwellings assigned to them in the garden of paradise will come within their view, and they will catch sight of their wives and their attendants, for these will be made visible to them even before they actually arrive at their destination. There is not one true believer who will not have the veil removed from his eyes at the moment of death, so that he can see what belongs to him in the garden of paradise. The Huris will beckon to him, as will the young attendants. Some of the delights of the garden of paradise will present themselves to him, so death and its pangs will actually be a pleasant experience for him. The Lord of Truth, Almighty and glorious is He, will treat such people as He treated Pharaoh's wife Asiya, may Allah bestow His mercy upon her. When Pharaoh realized that she was a believer in Allah, Almighty and glorious is He, he gave orders for iron spikes to be driven through her hands and feet, and had her lashed with whips. Then the veil was removed from her eyes, and the gates of heaven were opened wide for her, so she could see the garden of paradise and all that it contained. She saw that the angels were building a house for her there, so she said, "My Lord, build for me, in your presence, a house in paradise." 66:11 Then the angel of death came to her to take her spirit, and he said to her, "This house belongs to you." So she laughed as the agony of the torture left her. Pharaoh exclaimed, "Did I not tell you that she was quite insane? Can you not see how she is laughing, even while she is suffering this torture?" Just like Asiya, may Allah bestow His mercy upon her, at the moment of death these believers will see what is there for them in the presence of Allah, Almighty and glorious is He. There are some amongst them who will know about this even before the time of death. They are the ones who are drawn near, the ones who are singled out, the ones who are sought after. You must work for the sake of Allah. Do not neglect to keep the fast and perform the ritual prayer, while making sure that the performance of these and all good deeds is accompanied by sincere devotion. You must be careful to observe the external requirements, since putting them into practice will convey you to the valley of knowledge, to the door of your Lord, Almighty and glorious is He, by the steps of faith and conviction. Then you will see that which no eye has ever seen, of which no ear has ever heard, and the very notion of which has never occurred to the human heart. Listen well, O hearts! Listen well, O you who have reached maturity! Listen well, O sensible ones! The Lord of Truth, Almighty and glorious is He, has not spoken to callow youths, He has spoken only to mature adults. He has not spoken to our lower selves, He has spoken only to our hearts. The believers have heard His speech, while those who attribute partners to Him have been deaf to His speech. O Allah, arouse us from the slumber of our heedlessness. Shield us in all our circumstances. Shield us whether they be good or bad. Do not involve us in dealings with anyone other than you, whether they be laudable or shameful, not if such dealings would be praiseworthy, in case we should become conceited, and not if they would be shameful, in case we should disgrace ourselves. So let it be neither this nor that. Ameen.
وسلم دائما